बहुत बहुत स्वागत ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਫॉर ਜੁਆਇਨਿੰਗ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਡਰਬੀ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ ਸ਼ੋ ਸਮੀਰ ਕੌਸ਼ਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਅੱਜ ਜੂਨ 18 ਦਿਨ ਹੈ ਵੀਰਵਾਰ ਦਾ। ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੀ ਘੜੀਆਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਸਵੇਰ ਦੇ 9:58 ਔਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਕੁਝ ਖਾਸ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀਆਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਲਾਈਵ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀਆਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਜੋ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਔਰ ਜੋ ਬੜਾ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਹਟਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਔਰ ਰੈਲੇਵੈਂਟ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਚਰਚਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ MOU ਸਾਈਨ ਹੋਇਆ US ਇਰਾਨ ਦਾ। ਅੱਜ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਫਰਾਈਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਾਈਨ ਹੋਣਾ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਹ ਥਰਸਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਸਾਈਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਪੈਰਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਈਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕੀਤਾ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਆਫ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਸਟੇਟਸ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਡੋਨਲਡ ਜੇ ਟਰੰਪ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਈਰਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਸੂਦ ਪਜ਼ਸ਼ਕੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਈਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ। ਔਰ ਉਧਰੋਂ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਸਾਈਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਐਜ਼ ਮੀਡੀਏਟਰ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਕੀਤਾ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਜ਼ੀਰ ਆਜ਼ਮ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਇਹ ਤਾਮਝਾਮ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਇਹਦੀ ਮੇਜ਼ਬਾਨੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਔਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਇੱਕ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਔਰ ਸਵਿਟਜ਼ਰਲੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਈਨਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈ ਨਹੀਂ। JD ਵੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਇਸ MOU ਦੇ US ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੀ ਮਾਇਨੇ ਨੇ। What is the significance for the citizens of US for this MOU ਔਰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੈਵਰੇਜ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ MOU ਸਾਈਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਟਰਸਟ ਕਰੋ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। Have trust in Trump, have faith in Trump ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ। ਬਟ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਲਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਫਸਰ ਬਣਨਾ, ਨੰਗਲ ਦਾ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲਾ, ਨੰਗਲ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ 'ਚ ਆਈ ਔਰ ਆ ਕੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਲੜਕਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਭਰਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਔਰ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਫਸਰ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਫਸਰ ਬਣਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨੇ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦੇਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ। ਉਹਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ, ਦਿਸ ਗਾਇ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ। ਕੁਝ ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਖਬਰ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈ ਕਿ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਨਿਭਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਗਈਆਂ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਹੋਇਆ, ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਕ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕੀਤਾ। ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਂਝੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਦਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਕੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਆਂਗਾ। ਨੰਗਲ ਤੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਸਟ 1 ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਨੰਗਲ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਔਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਲੜਕਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਇਹ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਬਣਿਆ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ। ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਬਣਿਆ ਔਰ ਥੋੜੇ ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਮਿਲੀ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ। 9 ਜੂਨ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਦਾ ਵਹੀਕਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਹੀਕਲ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਹੀਕਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੱਜਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਸਡਬਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਲਗਭਗ 600 ਕਿਲੋਮੀਟਰ ਨਾਰਥ ਵੈਸਟ ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਜੇਮਸ ਬੇ OPP ਡਿਟੈਚਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਰਸ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ 29 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਔਰ ਅੱਜ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਨਿਕਲਿਆ ਔਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਵਿਦਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਫਿਸਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਖਰੀ ਸਲਾਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਰ ਦੇਣਾ। ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਲਾਈਵ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਸਾਰਾ ਲਾਈਵ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਊਂਗਾ। ਔਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਾਈਵ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ। Just give me 1 minute. ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਯਾਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਖਰੀ ਸਲਾਮ ਦਿੰਦਿਆਂ ਇੱਕ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਐਂਡ ਆਮ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਟੂ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਦੈਟ ਵਿਦ ਯੂ। ਜਸਟ 1 ਸੈਕੰਡ।
I would like to take a moment to thank and recognize the hymn singers. Your voices have brought comfort as we gather here today. Now, if you are able, please rise for the entrance of the funeral procession led by Pipe Sergeant Chris Gilbertson of the Commissioner's Own Pipes and Drums. Provincial Constable Bali's safe passage has been entrusted to the Ontario Provincial Police Ceremonial Unit.
ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਕ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਖੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਔਰ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਈਪ ਸੈਰੇਮਨੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਾਰਥਿਵ ਸਰੀਰ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਥੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਔਰ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਕ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਔਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਕਾਂਸਟੇਬਲ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਿਛੋਕੜ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨੰਗਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਖਰੀ ਵਿਦਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਦੇਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ। ਸੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਬੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਬੈਕ ਪਾਈਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਚੱਲ ਕੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੱਕ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਪਾਰਥਿਵ ਸਰੀਰ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਫਿਸਰਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਲੀਗਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਟੀਮ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਔਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਨਮਾਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਸ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਮੌਕੇ ਤੇ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਔਰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਝੰਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਅੱਧਾ ਚੁਕਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਸੜਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਂਦਾ ਗਿਆ ਲੋਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਖੜੇ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਵਿਦਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਖੜੇ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਵਿਦਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੜਕ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ। ਇੱਕ ਪੂਰਾ ਰੂਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਰਸਤੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਾਰਥਿਵ ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਲਿਜਾਇਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਔਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਸ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਲਿਆ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਵਿਦਾਇਗੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਕ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਭਾਸ਼ਣ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਨੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਹਟੀਆਂ। Tarun Bali, who was constable in Ontario Provincial Police. ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ 'ਚ। ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਰੋਪੜ ਜ਼ਿਲ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਨੰਗਲ ਇੱਕ ਥਾਂ ਹੈ। ਨੰਗਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ। ਨੰਗਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੋਮ ਟਾਊਨ ਰਿਹਾ ਔਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੌਕ ਦੀ ਲਹਿਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਦੌੜ ਗਈ। ਨੰਗਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਬਾਲੀ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਉਹ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਅਸ਼ੋਕ ਬਾਲੀ, ਮਾਤਾ ਨੀਨਾ ਬਾਲੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਛੋਟਾ ਲੜਕਾ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਿਵਾਲਿਕ ਐਵਨਿਊ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਨੰਗਲ, ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੂਵ ਹੋ ਗਏ। 2 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਅਨਟਾਈਮਲੀ ਡੈਥ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਨੂੰ, ਪੂਰੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਹਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਰੱਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਔਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਆਫਿਸਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਔਰ ਇੱਕ ਅੰਤਿਮ ਵਿਦਾਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਬੈਗਪਾਈਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ontario provincial ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਆਖਰੀ ਧੁਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਜਾਈ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ontario ਦੇ ਝੰਡੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਰਥਿਵ ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਲਪੇਟਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਔਰ ਆਖਰੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਫਿਊਨਰਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਲੇਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ।
Please be seated. We will begin the funeral service today with a prayer. Please welcome Pandit Abhay Shastri from Hindu Sabha Temple in Brampton, accompanied by Acharya Sudarshan Sharma.
Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tashmai Shri Guruve Namah. Vedaham etam purusham mahantam, maditya varnam tamasha parastat, tame viditva atimritumeti, nane pantha vidyate anayam. Vedaham etam purusham mahantam, aditya varnam tamasha parastat, tame viditva atimritumeti, nane pantha vidyate anayam. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansijanurvardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah Shanti Shantirabhavatum. Om
Abrahman Brahmano Brahmavarchasi Jayatamasmin Rashtre Rajanya Ishavyashuro Maharatho Jayatam Dogdri Dhenurvodhanadva Nashasaptif Purandharyosha Jishnoratheshta Sabhe yo yuvasya yajamanasya viro jayatan nikame naf parjanyo varshatu phalinyo na oshadhayah pacyantan yogakshemo nah kalpatam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskaram everyone. Today, as we are mourning the loss of our officer Tarun Bali, in Hindu tradition, whenever the life concludes, we offer our final prayers to one's life. And as most of the mantras are chanted in Sanskrit, today I would like to briefly describe, according to Hinduism, what they have to say about life. This journey, this life, what we have seen, what we have experienced as the life of Tarun Bali, the life aspect which we believe as the consciousness, and the physical body, the physical mortal body, what we carry in our journey, we call it as the house of the soul. The consciousness is again identified as soul or spirit or Atman. And furthermore, our Shastras describe the Atman itself, the consciousness itself, as something eternal. What do I mean by eternal is Anadi and Ananta. Anadi means one without a beginning. Ananta means one without an end. Just like time doesn't have a beginning point to it, nor an end. Time always existed and it will always continue to remain. In a similar way, the soul, the spirit which was housed in this physical body is referred as eternal. So if the Atman is eternal, what makes life or what makes death in Hinduism is the connection. The connection which brings the spirit and the body together, which makes birth, and the disconnection which separates the Atman out of this physical body. And that connection, what keeps the Atman, the spirit, and the body together, which is housed throughout our journey, we refer it as Prana Shakti or the binding force. And this Prana Shakti stays with this physical body throughout our journey and binds the soul along with this physical body. And while the Atman is housed in this physical body, through this physical body, the Atman experiences life. But whenever the time comes, Sri Krishna Paramatma in Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita is a holy text where it talks about narration. And in this narration, the author placed the whole narration in the midst of warfield. And this narration comes where Arjuna, as a seeker, as a warrior, who wanted to find answers about life, whereas Sri Krishna is answering all his questions. And why this situation, this preaching could have been anywhere else, but not, the author chose to place the whole situation, narration, in midst of warfield. Here, the Arjuna, as the seeker, is represented as a common man. Each one of us are seekers in our life. Every one of us are common man. And there are questions about life there we don't know, we get lost in journey. And this whole life is a play of war where we have survival instincts, we live. At the same time, we go through ups and downs of life. And whenever we become directionless, this book can be a rescue to teach us or show us the path of journey. So in one of the instances, Arjuna asked, what is life? And Shri Krishna responded to him and he said, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvan janma mritasya cha. Shri Krishna was preaching Arjuna and he said, those who are born, the one and only certainty in life is death. It doesn't matter which caste, creed, race, gender we are all born in, what we believe in, what we follow. At birth and at death, we are all the same. Bhagavan says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvan janma mritasya cha. He says, every beginning has an end, and every end is a new beginning. It's a new beginning for the departed soul to start a new journey onwards. It is as certain as death. Every death is a new beginning. And today we are here to offer our final prayers to Tarun Bali for his new journey onwards, the Atman, the spirit which was housed in his physical body, to start a new journey. The prana, which is binding the soul and body together throughout our journey, we call it as Dasha Prana. Dasha Prana means there are 10 kinds of energies, they work in this physical entity, and that's how they bind this physical body and the Atman together. And what are those energies? We call it as Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana. So the first 5 of the pranas, we refer them as Sthula Prana. Sthula means one which functions at a conscious level, and it helps 5 of our senses to function: seeing, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, through which we understand the world around us. We call it as Pancha Jnanendriyas. And furthermore, we have Pancha Karmendriyas, the functionality of our body. We call it as the energies which function at a subconscious level, like digestion, thinking, movement of our body. All of this which is happening, the energies behind all of this physical functionality, we refer them as pranas. Whenever the physical body becomes incapacitated or becomes unavailable to help the soul to experience this life, At that point, the prana, the binding force, becomes brittle and it breaks down. And when that happens, the Atman, the spirit which is housed in this physical body, get released out of this physical body. Our Shastras says this prana has passages through which it has entered this physical body, and those passages becomes the point of exit as well. This physical body, what we carry, the mortal body, we call it as prana apana vyana udana samana. We call this physical body what we carry as panchabhutas, or 5 elements. So there are Ashta Chakra Nabadvara Devanam Pura Yothya. In Yajurveda Aranyaka Prashna, they referred this physical body as Ashta Chakra. Ashta Chakras are the points of spiritual awakening, which are there from the lower part of our spine, and it raises from there till the top of our head. And there are 8 points, which we call it as chakras. And furthermore, it talks about having Navadvaras, or 9 passages, or 9 doors in human body. And what are those 9 doors? Both eyes, both ears, both nostrils, mouth, and the respiratory areas. So among the 10 pranas which binded soul and body together, except for one, all of those 9 pranas exit out of this physical body at the time of death through these 9 passages. But the last leg of our journey still remains in this physical entity. And today the prayers are held to help in relieving that energy out of this physical body and bring a closure, as every closure is a new beginning for the soul. Dashama Prana resides within this physical body even upon death, and even upon death, the body still continues to function. In a way, it starts to merge itself back into the nature where it has come from. And the nature, what we call it as Prakriti, we refer them as Panchabhutas, or 5 elements. Once the Atman leaves, the body will go back into its eternal state, and that eternal state, we refer them as 5 elements. And those are earth, fire, air, water, and space. Everything we see in this nature is a combination, whether it is living or non-living, is one or the other way, it's a combination of these 5 elements. When we are alive, we can feel the heat, which is the representation of fire. We breathe in air, we consume water, we occupy space, and we have structural things, which is again referred as earth. So whenever the Atman leaves, this physical body starts to merge itself, put itself back into the nature. In Hindu tradition, we do the final rites and rituals, which is known as Antyeshti Vidhi. At the time of death, the Agni Tattvam, the fire element, leaves the body and body turns cold. In this ritual, we invoke, bring back that fire element by offering prayers. And that fire element, when it consumes through the process of cremation, it opens up the last or the 10th passage for the Dashama Prana, the last leg of our journey, to be relieved out of this physical body. And when a child is born, we can notice a small opening right at the center of our skull. And we call it as Brahmarandra. As we grow, it closes. And they say the Agni Tattvam, the final rituals, will help in opening that passage and relieve the Dashama Prana and bring a closure. And furthermore, we offer all our prayers to go as a decorated officer, as a Veer Gati. We call martyrdom as Veer Gati. And we say, our Shastra says, what is the purpose of life? We say the purpose of life is attain the righteousness, or walk in the path of righteousness, which we call it as dharma. Dharma means righteousness. So many people have conflict about what is right to me could be wrong to you, or what is wrong to you could be right to me. So in order to relieve that confusion, Shri Krishna Paramatma in Bhagavad Gita says, Dharmasya moolam karuna. Dharma means the righteousness, which is the foremost goal of one's life, what we call as the first and most important goal of life, which is walking in the path of righteousness. And we say that righteousness should be originated from compassion. Dharmasya moolam karuna. The origin of righteousness is compassion. And what is compassion? Our Shastra says every living being on this earth has a right to live a joyful life. And every action we do to keep ourselves sanity, to bring joyfulness to our life, is dharma. At the same time, any actions what we do should not harm the life, joyfulness of any other living being, is known as compassion. So everything what we do in our life, our actions, as we measure a life of compassion, is what dharma, which is ultimately help us to liberate or find the path of virtue and serve the purpose of life. And today, Tarun Bali has been working as a decorated officer, and he has shown that he has stood all his journey to protect the righteousness, the righteous path, the compassion path, and bring a harmony in society. And these rules and regulations has put in place in this world not to bring a collective happiness for the society. And Tarun Bali has given his ultimate sacrifice in protecting that righteousness into this society. And I pray that God bless him, give him the Paramagati Mahavishnu, give him the word of heavenly abode. And with this, I conclude my opening prayers. Om Yo Vedado Svarah Prokto Vedante Cha Pratisthitah Tasya Prakatilinasya Yah Parassa Maheshwarah. Om Shanti 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 Om.
Please stand as we honor our country with the singing of our national anthem, which will be performed today by Provincial Constable Richard Pauls, and will be followed by a moment of silence. Uniformed members, please ensure your headdress is on at this time. On behalf of the members in uniform, Ontario Provincial Police Commissioner Thomas Carrique will take the salute. All uniformed members, please come to attention.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for stand on guard for thee.
I would ask that you remain standing as we observe a moment of silence to honor the life and service of Provincial Constable Tarun Bali. Uniform members, you may remove your headdress at this time.
Good morning. My name is Carl Thomas. I am a Chief Superintendent with the Ontario Provincial Police, and I was Darun's Regional Commander. I am joined by John Dumont, Chief Superintendent of Northeast Region. We are both deeply humbled and honored to be presiding over this ceremony as we celebrate the life of Provincial Constable Tarun Bali. Last week, many of us watched as Tarun was escorted back to his community. The journey passed along communities and under overpasses where fellow officers, emergency services personnel, and members of the public lined the streets and bridges to honor PC Bali. They stood in solidarity with one of our own. We saw the flags, salutes, hand placed over hearts. We witnessed and felt the deep and profound grief together. I thank everyone who attended then and each of you who have come here today to honor our fallen colleague. Tarun was a dedicated officer who demonstrated true service, integrity, and an enduring sense of duty. This past Tuesday, I had the opportunity to review a recognition request for Tarun. This call to service was a testament to Darun's dedication. In January, Tarun and other members of the Dufferin Detachment responded to a call for service involving a person in medical distress. The team responded quickly in a critical moment, taking decisive action. They worked tirelessly to save a life, taking turns performing CPR until medical personnel arrived. The bond within the shift was unmatched, arguably the strongest I've ever seen. Tarun was a glue holding the group together during every challenge. Tarun's actions that day were a clear reflection of his commitment to protecting others and a life of dedicated service of others. This is an extremely sad time for the policing community. As we honor Tarun here today, we also carry the grief of losing Toronto Police Constable Mark Pinizzato and OPP Sergeant Brandon Malcolm. Tarun's impact will not fade with time. His service and courage will never be forgotten. To all the members of the James Bay and Dufferin detachments, we are here with you. We will continue to support you through this painful time. To Tarun's family here today, his wife Kamal, his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bali, there are no words that can fully ease your pain. But please know this, you're not alone. You are surrounded by a policing family and a broader community that stands with you today and in the days ahead. Your loss is shared, and your loved one's legacy will never be forgotten.
Today we are reminded of the profound realities of policing, the courage it demands, the risks it carries, and the extraordinary individuals who choose this path. Tarun was one of those individuals. He chose to put on the uniform and answer the call to protect Ontarians each and every day. The impact of Tarun's service and life reached far beyond the calls for service that he answered, and he will be remembered for that. I recently had the privilege of learning more about Tarun. He was not only a dedicated officer, but a friend, a loved one, a husband, a son, a brother, a grandson, an uncle, and much more. His life touched countless others. Tarun was a volunteer with the Peel Region Victim Services and was part of the Sertal Heritage Organization, a charity that promotes Indian music in the Greater Toronto Area. He brought positive energy to every room, a genuine warmth that drew people in. He had a friendly nature and a determination that inspired everyone around him. Tarun was especially fond of his Mercedes-Benz, which is here today in the arena. Tarun is and will always be an integral part of the OPP family, respected by colleagues and valued by all that knew him. He was always willing to help, as he did when he agreed to deploy to Northeast Region, stepping up to serve where it was most needed. Tarun served in 11 different detachments, from his home in Dufferin to Ottawa to James Bay, putting in countless hours. He also encouraged his peers to serve in other detachment areas as well. Tarun demonstrated leadership, selflessness, and a deep dedication to our shared mission. It is rare to see someone who has such a remarkable impact in such a short time. Thank you to Kamal, Mr. and Mrs. Bali, and the rest of your family for sharing this day with us and allowing us to pay our respects to Tarun. We stand with you and share in your grief. Today we are honored in the presence of the Honorable Edith Dumont, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, His Honor Tony Viscardi, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Deputy Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Michael Kersner, Solicitor General, Michelle D'Emmanuel, Secretary of Cabinet and Head of the Ontario Public Service, Mario Di Tommaso, Deputy Solicitor General, representatives from all levels of government, chiefs of police and their members from across the country and elsewhere, Ontario Provincial Police Association President David Sabatini, OPP Detachment Board members, representatives from many police and emergency services, Indigenous leaders, the strong and resolute survivors of law enforcement, SOUL, our own members of the Ontario Provincial Police, members of the OPP Dufferin County and James Bay detachments, Provincial Communications Center North Bay, and members of the communities who join us remotely. On behalf of the Bali family and Commissioner Karik, I welcome all of you to today's service. Over the course of the service, we will hear from several speakers, including members of government, police officials, family, and friends. At this time, I invite the 30th Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, Her Honor, the Honorable Edith Dumont, to the podium.
Commissioner Karik, Premier Ford, Ms. Kamal Sharma Bali, Ashok Nima Bali, family, friends, colleagues, and all who are grieving. Bonjour, good morning. Aujourd'hui, nous rendons hommage à la mémoire et à l'engagement de l'agent Tarun Bali. Today, the people of Dufferin County, the people of Hearst, the people of Kitchener, the people of Peel, and the people of Ontario mourn Constable Bali. As the representative of the Crown in this province, I offer my deepest condolences. In the fall of 2023, before his first shift with the Ontario Provincial Police, Constable Bali took the oath of affirmation of office, swearing loyalty to His Majesty and to Canada, and committing to preserving the peace, preventing offenses, and discharging his duty faithfully, impartially, and according to law. Not only did Tarun uphold his oath, but he also went above and beyond. With Peel Region Victim Services, he helped people who are affected by crime and tragedies, and he volunteered to be deployed to Hearst. It takes courage to leave a familiar place and to help where help is needed. It takes courage to answer a call for service, no matter where or when. It takes courage simply to accept the risk that comes with having a duty to keep people safe. To those who serve alongside him, thank you for answering the calls and for accepting the risks that you do each and every day. Our society and our democracy are kept strong and resilient by your vigilance and your bravery. We stand with you in solidarity. May Tarun's commitment and kindness continue to inspire you. To his family, you have shared that Tarun wanted to be a police officer from when he was very young. He fulfilled that dream, and in doing so, he gave so much to the communities he served. Truly, he was a hero in life. The people of Ontario will forever be grateful. We commit to holding him in our hearts as he held us in his home. May he rest in peace, qu'il repose en paix.
Thank you, Your Honor. I now turn the podium over to Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Doug Ford.
Your Honor, Commissioner Creek, and all my colleagues paying their respects, all our incredible frontline officers. I will always be there. I'll always be there to have your backs and support you. Today, we gather to mourn the loss of OPP Provincial Constable Tarun Bali. We're also here with a message to Provincial Constable Bali's family, including his wife, Kamal. Kamal, when I spoke to you the other day, it was heart-wrenching hearing the story. I also want to acknowledge his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bali, his brother and sister, and extended family, friends, and colleagues. You're not alone. In times of tragedy, the people of Ontario will always come together to grieve, remember, and commemorate Provincial Constable Bali's life, service, and sacrifice in keeping the people of Ontario safe from harm. Provincial Constable Bali was a proud Canadian and proud to serve the people of Ontario, whether at his home, OPP detachment in Orangeville, during his deployment in James Bay region, or through his volunteer work with Peel Region Victim Services. In his role, Provincial Constable Bali would often encounter members of the public, experiencing emergencies or crisis on what might be the worst day of their lives. We know he approached his work with professionalism, compassion, and dedication, helping others and making an irreplaceable mark on the communities he served. Provincial Constable Tarun Bali was a man who put others before himself and who led by example, no matter the risk. We can see that reflected in the days and hours leading up to his death, when he showed compassion and bravery despite the risk to himself. I know this loss is being felt far and wide, from the neighborhood in Brampton, where Provincial Constable Bali grew up, to Kitchener, where he got his first start in law enforcement, and the OPP family he has today. Ontario's brave men and women in uniform never know what challenges they'll face when they step out of their front door to keep the people of our province safe. We must never, ever forget Provincial Constable Bali's sacrifice, and we will not. To everyone here today, his family, his friends, his loved ones, and colleagues, while we can never properly repay the debt of gratitude that this province owes him, Provincial Constable Bali will always be remembered as the hero he was, and his legacy will live on forever. Thank you, and may God bless our men and women in uniform.
Thank you,
Therefore,
Premier
ਜਿਹੜੇ
Ford.
premier ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ
I
ਵੀ
now introduce
ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ
the
ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ।
Commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police, Thomas Carrick, and welcome him to the podium.
It was somehow symbolic this morning as we stood outside of this arena and the skies opened up, the rain came down, the sound of thunder and lightning around us. I would venture a guess that if any of us were standing out there alone, we may have sought shelter. But the fact that we were together, we stood strong, and we awaited the arrival of Provincial Constable Bali. And as you sit uncomfortable in your wet clothing, I know that you will find comfort that we are all in this together. I would like to start by thanking Chief Superintendents Dumont and Thomas for officiating today's service, for recognizing the dignitaries present, and for welcoming our guests. Your Honor, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario and Premier Ford, thank you for your heartfelt comments this morning and your steadfast support. Kumal, thank you to you and your entire family for the honor and the privilege of paying tribute to Tarun on behalf of the Ontario Provincial Police. Each and every time an officer is killed in the line of duty, it feels like our hearts stop beating. We struggle to breathe. Our heads are lost in a dense fog, and our souls feel completely empty. It is the power found in the solidarity of policing and the support from law-abiding citizens that enable us to rise again and to carry on knowing that we can rely on each other and that the safety of this province relies on each and every one of you. Since 1909, our OPP family have lost 107 officers in the line of duty, including Sergeant Brandon Malcolm just over a month ago. Police officers know better than most that death is a part of life and that we cannot live without dying. Provincial Constable Bali's life was cut unjustly and tragically short, although not before he could realize his childhood dream of becoming a police officer and far exceeding the expectations entrusted to him as a proud and dedicated OPP officer. We can't allow our living to be overshadowed by the fear of dying unjustly. If we allow it, fear can manifest from the fact that more than 15 police officers have been murdered in Canada since 2020, including 4 OPP officers. The murders of Provincial Constable Bali and veteran Toronto Police Constable Mark Penizzotto, a mere 2 days apart, should be causing every Canadian to reflect on what justice means to us as a nation. For me, justice prioritizes trust and accountability over excuses. It requires the courage to act and the willingness to take a stand for what is right, as opposed to allowing excuses to become justifications for elements in our society that perpetrate harm and erode the very feeling of safety and security. Intent on selflessly protecting the innocent, Provincial Constable Bali was mission-focused and driven by the pursuit of justice. Selfless guardians of justice, like Provincial Constable Bali, like Constable Penizzotto, deserve nothing less than to be protected by laws and supported by a society and systems that protect the innocent, preserve quality of life, and prioritize both public and officer safety. As Canadians, we need to ask ourselves, if our police are not safe, then who is? Maintaining a strong and free Canada depends upon our dedicated and brave police officers. The very Canada the Bali family intently and purposefully immigrated from India to in 2005. A Canada that Provincial Constable Bali was willing to give his life for, and in Ontario, he proudly gave his life to. I vividly remember meeting Tarun and his family at his OPP graduation. His gratitude and excitement for the opportunity to serve our province was truly inspiring. And the immense pride his family had in him choosing a life of service with the OPP was as evident then as it is today. Provincial Constable Bali's commitment to serving the citizens of Ontario and protecting our communities was defined by a sense of duty, pride, and a love for his fellow officers. Tarun's commitment to community and family was not limited to where he lived. It encompassed the entire province and all of the OPP. A dedication to duty that often started with a 3 a.m. pre-shift workout to ensure he was physically and mentally prepared to protect his community and back up his team. A dedication to duty that caused him to voluntarily deploy more than 900 kilometers from his home detachment in Aurelia to the James Bay detachment in Hearst. A proud and loyal Canadian, his noble motivation was simple and pure: to serve and protect our vast province. His assigned task was simply to perform general law enforcement duties, while local officers from James Bay were assisting with managing wildfires in Northeast region. Enthusiastic, competent, and hardworking, he was as much at home and as highly respected in James Bay as he was in Dufferin County. Imagine the commitment of an OPP officer like Provincial Constable Bali in what would seem like worlds apart for most Ontarians. He willingly traveled nearly 1,000 kilometers from home to stand as the first line of defense, protecting good from evil, and was willing to give his life to do so. The only guarantee any of us have in life is that our time is limited. A life well lived cannot be measured in time. It's measured by the positive impact we have on others and the lasting legacy we leave. Legacy is everlasting life. Provincial Constable Bali has gifted us with his legacy of service above self and the sense of belonging to a proud team that is defined by dedication to duty and loyalty to family. He reminds us that it is both an honor and our responsibility to serve our province, protect our citizens, uphold the law, and preserve public safety. Provincial Constable Bali valued and exemplified courage. As police officers, you know, courage requires both a conscious willingness and the ability to act. It is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. More than bravery, which is instinctive and fearless. Courage requires the ability to control fear, face danger, confront uncertainty, and overcome pain. Hindu teachings recognize courage is acting with a moral duty, requiring self-discipline and the inner strength to stand up for justice, just as Provincial Constable Bali did. Tarun, a proud OPP provincial constable, was one of the select few in our province. In fact, in our country, who overcame the fear and apprehension of an ordinary person to become one of the extraordinary ones, willing and able to do what others are unwilling or simply unable to do. Police officers are the reliable protectors we all turn to in times of deep despair and when all else and everyone else has failed us. They are the guardians who preserve the quality of life in our communities, the ones who safeguard the rights, the freedoms, and democracy that is Canada. They save and change lives every day across our great province and in every province and territory, from coast to coast to coast. I give thanks every day that there are officers like Tarun, willing and able to protect us. Provincial Constable Bali is a testament to my belief that being a respected and trusted police officer is a higher calling in life. It's a privilege, a responsibility, something we must continuously and conscientiously, completely dedicate ourselves to. Provincial Constable Tarun Bali, your loyal family in blue, has it from here. We will do as you faithfully did. We will courageously and tirelessly continue to serve our province, protect its citizens with pride, with professionalism, and with honor. Provincial Constable Bali, you lived as a hero in life. You made a difference. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten, and your legacy will be your everlasting life. Rest in peace, trusted guardian.
Ontario Provincial Police ਦੇ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲੈਫਟੀਨੈਂਟ ਗਵਰਨਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਔਰ Ontario ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਇਨਫੈਕਟ ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਸਿਟਿੰਗ ਜਸਟ ਇਨ ਫਰੰਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੀਮਸ ਲਾਈਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੈਫਟੀਨੈਂਟ ਗਵਰਨਰ ਉਹ ਬੈਠੇ ਔਰ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨਰ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਲੂਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
Thank you, Commissioner Creek. Amazing Grace will be led by Ontario Provincial Police Pipe Sergeant Chris Gilbertson.
आई थिंक अजे परिवारक मैंबर्स ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਯਾਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਔਰ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ।
Thank you, Pipe Sergeant Chris Gilbertson and the Commissioner's own pipes and drums. At this time, I welcome the Rune Sergeant Jay Moore, along with platoon members, Provincial Constable Adam J. Rose, Provincial Constable Jacob Pyra, Provincial Constable Ryan Jones, Detective Constable Jaslyn Thompson, and Provincial Constable Suresh Singh to the podium. Sergeant Moore will be sharing words of reflection on behalf of the platoon.
Ontario Provincial Police ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਲਾਈਵ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਨੀਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟਾਈਟਲਸ ਆ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਔਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਵੀ Ontario Provincial Police ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਆ। ਸੋ ਦੈਟਸ ਅ ਗੁੱਡ ਜੈਸਚਰ ਕਿ ਐਟਲੀਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੀ, ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੀ। ਇੰਡੀਆ 'ਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਹੈ ਨੰਗਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੀ, ਰੋਪੜ ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ। ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਦਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ, ਤਰੁਣ ਬਾਲੀ ਦਾ ਪਿਛੋਕੜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਨੰਗਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਹਾ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਲਾਟੂਨ ਦੇ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਮਾਂਡਰ ਨੇ ਸੁਪਰਡੈਂਟੈਂਟ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਸ ਸ਼ੋਕ ਸਭਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣਾ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇਣਗੇ।
Well, Bali, you always had a way of making an impression. You never did anything halfway, and you were never one to shy away from the spotlight. So it seems only fitting that today you've managed to get the whole shebang. For those who don't know me, I'm Jay Moore, a sergeant at the Dufferin OPP detachment. Bali called me Sarge when we first met, but later I was honored to be known as Papa Moore, a title that spoke to the friendship and family-like bond that we shared together. Before I begin, I want to explain why I'm calling him Bali. It's not out of any disrespect for his given name of Tarun. The truth is that police officers have a somewhat limited capacity when it comes to names. And as most of you know, we're not necessarily the smartest bunch. So we tend to go by last names. So to his immediate police family, he is and always will be Bali. Standing here with me today are as many of Bali's platoon mates that we could fit up here. I know the rest of you that are out there would love to be up here with us as well. Many of you may think of them as colleagues or co-workers, but to Bali and to us, we were much more to each other. We were his brothers, his sisters, his OPP family, and we were bound by a connection that went far beyond our uniforms. These individuals stand here today not only for themselves, but on behalf of the many others who shared that same bond with Bali. Those gathered among us and those that could not be here today. Over the past 9 days, we've been carrying the weight of this immense loss and heartbreak, and I've searched for the right words to share with you all today. The stories come easily, believe me, there are countless of them. But finding words worthy of honoring Bali in the way he deserves has been much, much harder. I'll do my best to honor him with the words my heart and sorrow will allow me to say today. I wish to thank the Bali family for entrusting me with the opportunity to honor their husband, son, grandson, brother, nephew, and one amazing uncle in whatever small way I could today. My first exposure to the positive force of energy that was Bali occurred in May of 2024. He showed up at our detachment on his first official day at the Dufferin OBP, sporting the brightest baby blue suit I think I have ever seen. He was paired up with our resident fingerprint expert, otherwise known as the Snowman, and along with his fellow new recruits, Chewy, Suresh, and Alex. I remember thinking this kid Bali is either the cockiest or craziest recruit I've ever seen, showing up at a police station looking like he's headed to a Miami nightclub. He turned and smiled at me with those massive dimples that we all see in the photos before us, and he said, "Hi, sir, I'm Tarun Bali." And without me knowing, my world had just changed. I was now slowly being wrapped up in the Bali vortex, which is this indescribable force that opens your heart to Bali without your conscious awareness. I had very few interactions with Bali over the coming weeks as we were on opposite shifts, but fate and a platoon shuffle brought us together in June of 2024. This was also the time that he and his love, Kamal, celebrated their union. I was already beginning to understand how special Bali was, but I was still caught off guard when he invited me, my wife Nicole, and our entirety of our A platoon to his wedding. Hesitant to mix work with personal life as his sergeant, I felt it was best not to attend, and it's a decision I will forever regret. I realized later that this invitation wasn't something he felt he had to do for his sergeant and his new platoon. Bali genuinely wanted us there. He wanted to share one of the most important days of his life with the people he now considered part of his family. That's who Bali was. He had an extraordinary way of making people feel valued, welcome, and included. He didn't just build friendships, he built a family. Yes, he really was that amazing. In the coming months, I started to really learn who Bali was. I won't lie and say he was a rock star of policing right off the bat. But he was so determined to succeed that he accepted all manner of coaching and training that we provided. These folks before you, Pyra, Che-Rose, Jones, and Jazz, took Bali under their wings, as was his magic. He quickly folded them into the ever-growing group of Bali minions. He rapidly developed as a vital and loved member of our platoon family, and without doubt, Pyra's wingman. We generally patrol solo in Dufferin Detachment, but Pyra and Bali were attached at the hip, and ironically enough, managed to ride in the same cruiser on a regular basis. Yes, Pyra, me, Dunning, and Newman were very aware of the Pyra-Bali glitch. Bali was the first Canadian with Indian heritage on our shift. I describe his heritage that way because his father, Ashok, has made it very clear to me in our conversations how proud he is to be Canadian, and also to celebrate his traditions and beliefs as an Indian-born family. Our platoon quickly became reliant on Bali whenever we needed help communicating in Punjabi or Hindi. In fact, our confidence in his translation abilities grew so much that one night on a roadside traffic stop, we called him for help in communicating with a stranded South Asian man. Bali got on the phone and listened intently as the man explained what he needed. After a few moments, Bali paused and calmly replied to us, "This guy doesn't speak Punjabi or Hindi. I think maybe he's Sri Lankan." After a good Bali laugh, we all learned an important lesson that night. Bali's translation skills, although impressive, are limited to the languages he actually speaks. Of course, that didn't stop us from calling him every chance we got. I know that this celebration of Bali is not about me. However, to create a clear picture of his impact on everyone he touched, I think it's important to speak of my personal experience. As a leader, I try not to get too emotionally involved with my people. I feel as though I keep an arm's length so that I can treat them all the same and provide them all the same level of counsel and assistance. I was even quite adamant with my wife that I treat everyone the same. And I know you're waiting for it. Here comes the but. I broke my own rule with Bali. I not only brought him into my home and introduced him to my family, I placed him under my arm like a son. In that same vortex I spoke of earlier, he also entrapped my wife, and she quickly became known to him as Mama Moore.
Wow.
Suddenly we had a son who never asked anything of us and only gave us love and friendship. There's nothing I can say today that will lessen the sorrow and anguish felt by everyone who knew Bali. We each carry that loss in our own way. But for Bali's family, the pain is immeasurable. For Ashok and Nina, his parents who brought him into this world and watched him grow into the remarkable man we all came to know and love. For Swarnjeet and Naresh, his father and mother-in-law, who welcomed him into their family as a son. For Shiv, who gained not only a brother-in-law, but a true friend and confidant in Bali. For Manisha and her husband Raj, who had a loving brother who cared deeply for their son, Ray, and for Varun and his wife, Manisha, who had a devoted brother and loving uncle to Orion and Erica. And then there is Kamal. None of us can truly understand the depth of pain that has been forced upon Bali's soulmate, best friend, and life partner. The loss she carries is beyond measure. Kamal, please know you will not carry that burden alone. You'll have the love, support, and strength of all of us for as long as you need it. That's a promise made without hesitation and without condition. The last thing I have the emotional capacity to give today is a message to my friend, brother, and adopted son, Bali. Thank you for being who you were every day without fail. A respected and loved police officer in our province and community, a dedicated friend who never faltered, a bright ray of sunshine on the cloudiest of days to anyone who had the pleasure of knowing you. You always had a bro hug, slap on the back, or you're hearing it here, an ear rub for anyone who wanted it. Personal space didn't exist in your world. You brought a smile to everyone's face and a laugh to everyone's life. Although you were viciously taken from us with malice and hate, you showed us all how to live with pride, courage, honor, and above all else, love. Our policing community will honor your memory forever, and I will love you and miss you for the rest of my life. Papa Moore, A Platoon, and your entire police family, 10-7. Thank you.
Thank you for those touching words, Sergeant Moore. At this time, I welcome Tarun's wife, Kamal, to the podium for words of reflection. She will be accompanied by Tarun's brother and sister.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here today to honor my husband, OPP Constable Tarun Bali. The last few days have felt like a lifetime. I've spent countless hours looking through photos, reliving memories, and holding on to every piece of Tarun that I can. Through all of those moments, one thing became very clear, and that's the person we're here to honor today, who was extraordinary. Not because of any title he carried, but because of the way he loved and cared for others, and how he made people feel. To me, Tarun was my best friend, my safe place, my greatest love, my home. He was the person I turned to without even thinking, and he somehow made even the heaviest days feel lighter. Many people knew him as a police officer, but I knew him as the man who carried the weight of this profession and still came home with kindness. He spent endless hours serving others, facing things that most of us will never fully understand, yet he never allowed those experiences to harden him. Tarun had a gift for making people feel valued, including myself. He showed up when people needed him. He listened without judgment. He gave his time and his energy and his heart freely to everyone. Whether you knew him for years or only a short period of time, he left an impression on you. And that is why this loss feels so immense. I always described Tarun as a light. I would always tell him, "You are my light." And while myself and you all lost that light far too soon, it hasn't disappeared. It lives on in every life he touched, every friendship he built, and every person he helped, and every officer who had the privilege of serving alongside him. I want to take this moment and this opportunity to thank the Ontario Provincial Police and the Association and everyone involved in guiding us, including Sergeant Jay Moore, Sergeant Richard Mora. We got Sunny, and we got Coyer over there. Thank you, guys. There are no words, really, that could fully express the gratitude that my family and I feel for the love and support that you guys have shown while grieving this loss yourselves. But we appreciate you. To every officer, every server, every service, every community leader, every government official, the commissioner, and everyone who reached out, checked on us during these impossible days, thank you. Your support, your love for Tarun have meant everything to us. And it's more than you'll ever know and more than I will ever be able to express to you. To the entire Dufferin County Detachment and Tarun's platoon, Tarun loved you all with his whole heart. He was proud to wear the uniform, but he was just as proud of the people who stood beside him wearing it. You were more than co-workers, you were also his family, and you also became mine. You challenged him, supported him, you laughed with him, you helped shape him into the incredible, extraordinary officer that he became. Every time he spoke about work, I want you to know that he spoke about all of you in admiration, in respect, and in deep gratitude. One of the things that I, standing here, am most thankful for is that Tarun never kept those parts of his life separate. He introduced me to people who mattered to him the most. He shared your stories. He spoke about you often. He built these relationships long before I ever knew how much I would need them. Because when my world fell apart, I wasn't left alone. Tarun left my family and I surrounded by people who have wrapped their arms around us, people who made us feel safe when nothing felt safe, and those who brought comfort in the most uncomforting times. You continue to remind us that love, loyalty, and kindness that he gave so freely still lives on through all of you. So thank you. To the James Bay region, to everybody up in Hearst, to the officers that were there that day, this message is directly to you. I know that some of you may carry heavy thoughts from that day, and I know some of you may replay those moments in your minds and wonder if there was something more that you could have done. But I need you to hear this from me and on behalf of my family, that you did everything that you could in that moment. And sometimes, as painful as it is to accept, even our very best efforts can't change the outcome, and that's not your fault. If there's one thing that I can ask of you all, it's to please be kind to yourselves and to give yourselves some grace and compassion that Tarun would have given each of you. Instead of carrying the weight of what might have been, carry the memory of who Tarun was, his kindness, his courage, his commitment to helping others and serving. So every time you put on that uniform, and every time you begin a shift, and every time you answer a call, I want you to remember him. Let his memory give you strength, and whenever you feel alone, just remember that that part of him will always walk with you, no matter what. To Tarun,
Such a tough time.
my words fall short of how I feel. But I am so lucky to love you and to be loved by you, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you for choosing me and loving me so much. So much. It has been an honor, and it will continue to be an honor to be your wife. And no amount of time would ever have been enough, truly. But I will cherish every moment we shared. You are my greatest blessing, my best friend, the love of my life. I love you with my whole heart. Until we meet again, I hope you rest peacefully. Thank you, everyone.
What a strong lady. Very, very strong at this age, this young age. Tough for the family.
Thank you for sharing with us, Kamal. Those words will bring great comfort to all of us in this room. I would now like to invite Mr. Ashok Bali, Tarun's father, to share some reflections.
I don't know how I can start today. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashok Bali, and I'm the proud father of OPP Constable Tarun Bali, my love. Thank you, guys. First, I want to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for being here today. It means more of our family than words can say. I would also like to extend a special thank you to the Ontario Provincial Police for standing beside us, for supporting us through this incredibly difficult time. I love you guys. You guys, incredible, really, really. I also want to thank the leaders and members of our community for honoring my son in such a special way. The love, respect, and support you have shown our family will never be forgotten. These are no words that can truly describe the loss we are feeling. As a father, losing a son is a pain that is impossible to put into words. But if there is one message I would like to leave with everyone today, it is this: please, please, and humbly I will say, everybody, respect this profession and hold it in the highest regard. Every day, police officers leave their families behind and put themselves in the trouble way to protect us, protect you, protect everybody. The courage, dedication, and sacrifice they show should never be taken for granted. It deserves our recognition, our appreciation, and our support with our open heart to them. They are the real heroes, whosoever is having this stress. My family and I came to Canada in 2005. And I, like other hardworking immigrants, my wife and I also worked hard to raise our kids, to give them a life of full opportunities, and we made them capable enough to stand on their own. My son, who was also a husband, a brother, a loving uncle, dedicated his life to serve and protect in this country. Tarun was proud to wear his uniform. As you saw in his picture, when he was great, I think he was 2 or 3 years old, he wanted to become an officer. He loved being part of this community, and he believed deeply in helping others. We hope this legacy will remind people of the commitment and sacrifice made by officers every single day. These police officers, they're remarkable jobs they are doing. Everybody have to respect them. I have some few words in my Punjabi language for my son. बड़ा औखा है दिल नूं समझाना. बड़ा औखा है दिल नूं समझाना. It's very hard to convince your heart. तेरा छोटी उम्रे सानू छड्ड के चले जाना. You're too young to leave us. याद करके गुरुआं दी कुर्बानी. I'm remembering my ancestors, my forefathers, my gurus. They have done the sacrifice for the nation, for the country. मैं मान लिया ओदा पाना. I accept his decision, whatever the decision by the God. And my son, तू मेरा नाम रोशन कीता है. You make me proud in the country, and you sacrifice your life. And I'm really, really proud of you. I love you. I will miss you. You will always hear in my heart. And once again, I'm thankful to everybody, whosoever is here in that time of that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Bali. I will now invite Tarun's family members and friends, Haider Bajwa, Sahil Kohli, and Ankush Sharma to share some reflections.
One by one or?
One by one. Yeah.
Okay, so you can go first.
Say we love you, Chachu.
Okay,
I'm gonna speak something.
speak. Okay.
I love you, Tarun Chachu. Mamu. Om Trambikam Yajamahi Sugandhim पुष्टिवर्धनम् ओरे भारुकमि मन्दिरान् मृत्यो मोक्षीयमामृतात् Buarvirveshaha Tastaritar Arenyam Argorevas Siddhi Mahi Deyo Nona Prachodaya.
I love you, Tom.
I love you. I love you.
So,
छोटे बच्चों ने गायत्री मंत्र था और महामृत्युंजय दा ते मंत्र जेड़ा बोलिया ओम त्र्यंबकम यजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वारुकमिव बंधनात् मृत्युर्मोक्षमामृतात् और
Hello,
दूसरा
everyone.
गायत्री मंत्र.
My name is Sahil, and I'm one of Tarun's many close friends. First, I want to thank everyone here, and for those that are watching on the live stream, for being part of celebrating a hero's life today. The love and support Tarun's family and friends have received over the past 9 days has been truly incredible, and we are all very, very grateful for it. Growing up, Tarun was never the smartest in the room. He was never the fastest, and definitely wasn't the quietest one in any room he entered. But if there was one thing he was best at, it was showing up with a smile on his face, day after day after day. I'll never forget when he came to us and told us he's going to be doing the 75 hard challenge, which at that time was a challenge that was not completed by many people. And I remember we all looked at him and we laughed. We told him, you won't make it past day 5, but good luck, buddy. "75 days later, what do you know? He did it. He accomplished what he set out to do. And I still remember his smile that day, knowing he proved us all wrong once again. That was one of the many goals Tarun set for himself. Another one was even bigger, and that was to serve and protect his community. A man of honor, love, peace, and protection, Tarun Bali will forever be remembered as a hero. A hero who ran toward danger so the rest of us wouldn't have to. A hero who put his loved ones first. A hero who genuinely cared about your life and your goals, not as small talk, but genuinely because he wanted to see you win in life, just not at golf. Today, Tarun, if you're watching down on us, I'm proud to call you my brother. I'm proud of the time I got to spend with you. I'm proud of the man you became. I know you're looking down on us, and I just want you to know how deeply you're loved and how deeply you're missed. Rest in peace, my brother. We brought it from here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hader, and for the last 20 years, it's been an absolute honor to share the majority of my life with a superhero, Tarun Bali. For all of us in this room, you can attest to how selfless and caring he was. His smile lit up any time he walked into the room. Tarun had a determination that showed up in everything that he did, even his wardrobe. No matter what the scales said, he was convinced that he was a size medium, and nothing could change his mind. Throughout the last week, getting to meet Tarun's extended family, colleagues, and friends, one thing has become very clear. Tarun Bali never changed himself for anyone. He was true to himself, no matter who he was around, one of the kindest, most genuine souls I've ever come across. His commitment to serving as a police officer was unwavering. Not many people look forward to going to work every day, but Tarun was definitely one of them. I once asked Tarun if he won the lottery, would he quit his job? He laughed and said no without any hesitation. A true testament to the type of person that he was. He had a rare gift of putting others before him, and not because he wanted recognition, but that is simply who he was. His impact has crossed communities and countries. Tarun was determined to make this world a better place, and he did that till the very end. He leaves behind a legacy of hard work and grit that has set an example for many of us. There will never be another Tarun Bali, but there will be a generation inspired by his sacrifice. He will be cherished, he will be remembered, and he will be loved. And he is looking down on us right now with his infectious smile. They say legends never die. When I think of Tarun, I think that's true. His legacy lives on in every life he touched, every person he's helped, and every memory we carry with us forever. Tarun, rest in paradise, my brother. You will always have a place in our hearts. I am so proud of you. I love you, and I know you'll always be watching over us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ankush, and I am one of Tarun's older cousins, a very proud older cousin. Tarun was born in India and very proud of his heritage. And he came to Canada with a dream, and that was to become a police officer. He built a life here. He proudly wore the uniform of a Canadian officer. And not only did he become an OPP constable, but he sacrificed his life fighting for Canadians. An Indian man came here, sacrificed his life fighting for Canadians. Story is one of courage, sacrifice, devotion to the country that he called home. And today, as we say goodbye, we also give thanks and celebrate his life. We're grateful for the years and memories and moments we were blessed to share with Tarun. We deeply miss his smile, his presence, his aura, everything about him. Comfort of knowing he was there for us. His energy was unmatchable. One memory that we have is we played tennis a lot. He was always better than me, but I never told him that. So today, I'm still gonna say I'm better. But he got frustrated sometimes and would throw his racket to the ground. And I'd ask him, like, why are you so serious here? What's wrong? And he looked at me and say, I'm way better than this. And at the time, I was just like, it's just tennis, and we're just having fun. But that was his mindset. That's how he carried himself about everything. It was 100% or 0%. And I'm very, very proud to be his cousin because of the man that he became, because of that mindset. He was competitive, but it was never about winning or beating other people. It was about pushing. And whether as a husband, or whether as a brother, or whether as a son, he wanted to be better in every aspect, as a friend, and as a police officer as well. That drive made him the man that he is, and that's why I look up to him as my younger brother. I'll always remember him, and for his family, the loss is immeasurable. His brothers, his friends, I speak for all of you guys. He was not just a best friend and a cousin and a brother to us, he was a role model to us. And his parents, loved ones have lost someone whose presence brought so much joy to their lives. Together, and just want to say rest in peace to Tarun Bali. You'll forever be missed, forever loved, and forever be remembered. And Tarun, if you're listening, I love you, we love you, and you will always be missed and you'll never be forgotten. We promise to keep your memory alive forever, and we vow to be there for the family for the rest of our lives.
Thank you for sharing those wonderful reflections. At this time, members of the ceremonial unit will assist Commissioner Thomas Carrique as he presents Provincial Constable Bali's forage cap and the Ontario Provincial Police flag to his family.
I think this ceremony is about to finish now. And now I have to take you to Vancouver, where now we have to move to Vancouver, where Prime Minister is announcing, just 1 second, guys. Let's move this. I have to take you to Vancouver now, where Prime Minister is Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Vancouver. And he is going to announce.
I'll let the Premier introduce his team from the provincial side. And first and foremost, I want to acknowledge our hosts here on the site.
On
Lynch
housing
Group and the whole
and
team who
infrastructures.
are building the River District, an extraordinary neighborhood here in Vancouver. Vancouver's fastest growing neighborhood, I think, at this point, and fantastic housing with a mix of affordability, which is great work by many people over many years and coming to fruition here. As former mayor of Vancouver, I saw the difference that housing and infrastructure investments can make for our communities. But for most of my years, we were missing federal and provincial leadership that was needed to get everyone around the table to build that essential infrastructure, that essential housing and transit. Je suis très heureux que maintenant, sous le leadership de Premier ministre Mark Carney, nous pouvons avancer avec notre plan pour bâtir un Canada fort. Now we have federal and provincial leadership alongside the community and a clear plan with a shared sense of purpose. We are delivering results by working together across all levels of government. And there is a deep alignment here with the BC government, and we've already forged a solid partnership on affordable housing. Better transit, community infrastructure, and local services don't just improve the quality of life, though. They help spur that housing, the development of housing, alongside job opportunities and stronger communities. And that's exactly what today's announcement is about, because building more homes, we need to build the infrastructure that makes that possible. And this is part of that broader effort. So the Build Canada Homes BC Housing Partnership is supporting home building and affordability across the province. Alors que nos communautés grandissent, on choisit d'être là, on bâtit des partenariats et un Canada fort. Through the Building Community Strong Fund and Strong Transit Fund, we are going to make investments with BC in the infrastructure that supports our growing communities. And with that, it is my great honor to welcome Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Merci.
Thank you all. Wow, so good to be here. Good afternoon. I think we just made it to afternoon. Good afternoon. Premier Eby, what a pleasure. I'm going to say more about Premier Eby in a moment. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Oh, in Ottawa, great legislation that's moved forward, including making our communities safer and building the country, protecting nature, building the environment. It is always, this is the safest sentence to say, always great to be back in Vancouver, and especially great to be here on game day. Canada Guitar a few hours from now in BC Place. Also, somewhere around this great city is our Secretary of State, Adam Van Couverden, who is Canada's FIFA Sherpa. That is great work if you can get it. And somehow, I guess you get a gold medal, good things happen to you. Adam is our FIFA Sherpa. I said I was going to say a few more words about Premier Eby, and there's much I can say, but I just want to congratulate the Premier, the province of British Columbia, City of Vancouver, for showcasing the best of Canada and of the beautiful game. I mean, we are welcoming the FIFA World Cup here. It is the pinnacle of sport. More than 350,000 fans will come to Canada, to Vancouver. Yes, that will create thousands of jobs. Yes, it will add hundreds of millions, indeed billions, to the Canadian economy. But by far the most important element will be the experience of the world coming together to celebrate when it needs it the most.
The audio is not that great. Let me just change the channel from here to here.
Homes through 14 partnerships across this country, including 700 units here in BC and a lot more to come. There's 4,500 units already under construction or about to break ground in the next 3 months. En mars, nous avons déposé un projet de loi qui permettra de débloquer 1,5 milliard de dollars en fonds fédéraux pour aider les provinces et les territoires à réduire le coût de la construction de logements. Et depuis, nous avons affecté plus de 280 millions de dollars spécifiquement à la Colombie-Britannique. Now, we know, above all in the Lower Mainland, there are challenges. There have been challenges in the housing market, but there are now signs of real progress. Rents are starting to come down. Affordability is beginning to improve. Rents are now at a 20-month low. The rent-to-income ratio has fallen to its lowest level in over 6 years. Vancouver, rent for a one-bedroom apartment down 6% over the last year. Now's the time to reinforce that progress by tackling housing from every angle. Some of the issues, BC, not enough affordable homes are being built, emphasis on affordable. So demand continues to outpace supply. And at the same time, there's too many completed condos sitting empty. Metro Vancouver alone, around 2,500 finished units are standing vacant with no buyers. With higher interest rates, weaker investment demand, developers are stuck. They don't want to sell at a loss. They can't afford to hold those empty units indefinitely. And the problem is that those empty homes don't just sit idle. They also disincentivize new construction, unsettle lenders and investors, create a housing market that, in effect, feels frozen. Result, too many British Columbians still can't find the homes that they can afford. Nous changeons tout cela avec un plan qui s'attaque directement à ces défis afin de libérer l'offre de logement et d'améliorer l'accessibilité au logement. So today, with the Premier, we're pleased to announce that Canada and British Columbia have reached a landmark new agreement to help build more homes, to bring down housing costs, and modernize infrastructure across the province. We'll do this by working together to reduce development charges. We will convert vacant condos into affordable housing, and we will invest in community infrastructure from schools and hospitals to public transit. Now, I mentioned development charges. They're one of the biggest barriers to new homes. These are the fees that are charged to developers that help fund the infrastructure needed to support new housing. That means water mains, roads, parks, community facilities. Ils peuvent retarder des projets avant même que ceux-ci ne démarrent. Et lorsque le logement est mis sur le marché, les coûts cachés sont bien souvent transférés aux acheteurs et aux locataires. So through the Build Community Strong Fund, Canada will invest $1.6 billion in community infrastructure over the next decade. The BC government will match that investment. So that means $3.2 billion to finance the infrastructure communities need to support that housing, all while reducing municipal development charges that often get passed on to home buyers. Result, more people can afford homes and they get great infrastructure alongside it. Under this agreement, development charges on multi-unit housing projects across BC will be reduced by up to 50%, 50%, for the next 3 years. That means lower upfront costs, greater certainty for builders, more affordable homes for you to buy or rent. That could mean for a new unit, reducing costs by up to $40,000. Now, there's another thing we can do, and we're working together to do, which is to increase housing supply by making better use of units that already have been built. And to that end, we're announcing today that Canada and BC will have a new partnership on condo conversion. We're going to leverage innovative financing tools from Build Canada Homes to convert thousands of vacant condos into affordable homes. C'est l'une des moyens les plus rapides et les plus efficaces d'augmenter l'offre de logement, transformer les biens immobiliers inoccupés en logements abordables. Au cours des prochains mois, nos gouvernements officieront ce partenariat et commenceront à remettre sur le marché des logements abordables d'ici cet automne. So by the fall, will work to offer these condos on the market. Finally, we will increase the housing supply across the province. As we do so, with our various programs, we'll also build that essential new community infrastructure. That means new and improved transit systems, hospitals, community centers. We're providing $50 million to support community infrastructure projects, water systems, in coastal communities, and with priority projects in Terrace and Prince Rupert. We are deploying $2.5 billion to the Canada Public Transit Fund to build new transit infrastructure projects, bus routes, modernize transit networks across BC, including support for projects such as the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension. 8 new stations along the Fraser Highway, an expansion that will significantly reduce commute times, allow commuters to spend more time with their families. Okay, so I'll give an example, a trip from Langley Centre to King George Station taking just 22 minutes. Now, this is true across the country, but it's also true here in BC. In many communities, hospitals were built back in the 1970s. And here, because of the growth of British Columbia, that means those hospitals are serving populations twice the size they were designed for originally. Families have to wait too long for the care that they need. So we've agreed to partner with the province to upgrade and expand hospital rooms, emergency rooms, urgent care centers, medical schools, and other critical health facilities. We'll each contribute more than $600 million so that more British Columbians can get faster health care when they need it. And I want to take a minute to speak about one particularly important part of today's announcement. Back in February, dark days of February, and they were dark days, the Premier and I, and many of you, but the Premier and I went to Tumbler Ridge in the wake of the horrific shooting at the secondary school. We sat down, we heard directly from the students, their parents, their teachers. We talked to the first responders, the neighbors, friends. And we talked about what could be done to begin to help heal from that trauma, that loss, unspeakable tragedy. And the Premier and I, amongst other things, we promised that we would be there for the community as they rebuild. And to that end, the federal government and the BC government are announcing today that we will each provide $100 million to build an entirely new school and a modernized healthcare center for the Tumbler Ridge community. A new school for bright kids to learn, grow, and dream, and better facilities for the incredible healthcare workers who support those in need. Construction will begin this summer, starting with the removal of the existing school. I want to thank again Premier Eby for his partnership both on such vital local community projects as well as on major nation building projects as we collectively build at a scale and speed not seen in generations. I also want to thank him because we both share, and our governments both share, the conviction that it's not just what we build, but it's how we build. Building sustainably, with a relentless focus on lowering emissions. Building inclusively, in full partnership with First Nations. And building in solidarity with workers. Afin de bâtir un Canada qui n'est pas seulement fort, mais aussi bon. Un Canada qui n'est pas seulement prospère, mais aussi juste et abordable. Un Canada qui ne fonctionne pas pour quelques-uns la plupart du temps, mais pour toutes et tous tout le temps. We're building British Columbia strong and a Canada strong, and we're building for all. Thank you very much for your attention, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Premier of British Columbia, David Eby.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We are so glad to have you here in British Columbia. I'm joined by my colleague, Susie Chen. from the North Shore. She, in her community, is C-SPAN, where they're building the ships right now under a national shipbuilding strategy to protect and defend Canada and reestablish our seafaring capacity in the country. Nikki Sharma, our Attorney General, that worked with your team on delivering meaningful reforms around the criminal law, and super appreciative of your team's efforts to get that all across the line. Jesse Sunner, who is working on a $250 million training fund for young people so that they can get the skilled trades training that they need on the major projects that they're working on delivering for Canadians together. Sunita Deer, who has been working overtime to ensure that people who arrive in Canada, new arrivals, get the skills, get their experience recognized so that they can get to work. Gary Begg, our caucus chair, who helps keep everybody together in a line, former police officer from Surrey, and Amna Shah at the end of the line, who's working on our anti-racism strategy, among other pieces. This is your hardworking BC team here in British Columbia. And of course, we'll have the housing minister speak in a moment. Did I miss George Chow? George Chow. You know, this is George Chow's constituency, I think. And he's hosting us here. This neighborhood that we're in is probably the fastest growing neighborhood in Vancouver. George has welcomed 4,500 new constituents on a former industrial site here. There's maybe 15,000 people here that he makes feel welcome and advocates for as an incredibly effective MLA, and also our liaison with Chinatown and often with the Chinese community broadly in British Columbia as we prepare for a trade mission to China. Prime Minister, what I want to say here, and by these introductions, what I want to tell you is, if you want to diversify trade relationships around the world, and I know you do, you speak to it all the time, eloquently on the global stage, on the national stage, we are passionate about your vision. British Columbia is the place that is delivering that for you. We have the major projects to move the needle on national gross domestic product, creating jobs for Canadians from every corner of the province, creating revenues to pay for the public services that people depend on. If your goal is to build housing, that's what we're all about here in British Columbia. We've been working on this for a while, cracking down on speculators, ensuring that Airbnb is for vacation, not for displacing the workers in the tourism community, and building 5 times more rental housing than the previous government, delivering more than 100,000 homes for British Columbians. And if you want to host an international sports event, Prime Minister, let me tell you, we are proud to be recognized by Sports Illustrated as the #1 host city of the World Cup in North America here in British Columbia. And I got to tell you, the vibes out there are unbelievable. Your timing is impeccable, Prime Minister. My sincere hope is that we're going to be able to take in this game with Qatar, and not just take in this game, potentially a win for Team Canada. If Vancouver can deliver that for you, if British Columbia can deliver that for you, I don't know why you'd go anywhere else in Canada, to be totally honest with you. So this is an important announcement for us. This is, to my mind, this is a housing announcement. This is a commitment of the federal government, $5 billion over 10 years, commitment from the provincial government on matching funding to ensure that we're doing a couple of things. Making sure that people are going to be able to actually move into the housing that's being built in British Columbia by reducing the costs of constructing those new homes, including homes like those behind me right now. The second part is recognizing that there is existing housing stock available that's been built that people would love to move into. They would love to make it their first home to buy, but they can't afford it. And that working together at the federal and provincial level with the private sector, we can open those homes up and give people a pathway to affordable home ownership. Building homes is one piece, but in order for a community to be functional, you need the services around it as well. You need the schools, the hospitals, the urgent primary care centers, the transit. And this announcement is about that as well. It reflects new and additional contributions by the federal government to initiatives here in British Columbia around enhancing healthcare, urgent primary care centers, improvements to emergency rooms, operating rooms, critical health infrastructure. It means additional investments, badly needed investments, in transit to reduce traffic on our roads and give people an opportunity to get to where they want to get faster. And if that's a World Cup game, I will reflect on the fact that more than 1 million people took transit a new record for TransLink for the first game of the World Cup, and I hesitate to mention it, but it is even more than took transit in the Taylor Swift concert, Eras concert. So we're setting new records here. The demand is huge, and the contribution is meaningful from the federal government here. Together, British Columbia, the federal government, working to build a strong and united Canada in this incredibly challenging time for families in British Columbia, in Canada, and around the world. In a time of instability, today's announcement is an important symbol to me of the shared commitment between the provincial and the federal government to make life better for British Columbians in a time when things are challenging. And it's evidence that governments can work together to improve the quality of life for people. And that is the goal, I know, of every single person that's standing up here for this announcement and our whole caucus within the BC NDP government. So again, colleagues, federal colleagues, it's great to see you. I hope you have great times and celebrations today, whether you're in a fan zone or on Granville Street or wherever. We're so excited to have you here at this moment. And I want to thank you for your shared partnership and this work that we're doing together to build up beautiful British Columbia and our entire country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier Eby. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your cleanup speaker here, so I will be brief, but so excited to be working in partnership with the federal government, to be here with so many dedicated colleagues across both levels of government on this announcement. People across BC are feeling real pressure, the cost of rent, trying to buy a first home, or simply finding a place that works for their family and loved ones. Housing is one of the biggest sources of stress for people trying to stay in their community, for seniors looking for stability, or families wondering if home ownership is within reach. Our job is to stay focused on what matters most, building more homes faster and more affordably, removing barriers and supporting communities as they grow, because housing and infrastructure go hand in hand. We can't build homes without water systems and roads and good transit, and we can't do it if costs are too high to keep projects moving. That's why this work matters, and why Canada and BC are making billions in investments to continue to see projects move forward, turning empty lots into homes and making sure people can see and feel real progress in their communities and in their lives. Since 2017, we as a government have made a historic $19 billion investment in homes for people. We now have more than 99,000 homes delivered or underway in communities all across British Columbia. Asking rents are now consistently going down faster here than anywhere else in Canada, saving British Columbians thousands of dollars every year. Vacancy rates are going up, offering more choice for renters and the ability, in many cases, to negotiate their cost of rent. And rental construction has tripled in 2025 compared to what it was 10 years earlier. By working together across governments, we're taking practical steps to build more homes in strong and vibrant communities.
I think the most important thing is going to be the press conference. I think there are going to be some, Prime Minister is going to take some questions as well.
Or whoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, you're welcome to ask anyone. If you're standing up here, you can get a question and you can answer. So we all welcome.
We'll turn to questions
Yeah.
now. We'll do 20
There's going
minutes.
to be
Please
some from
identify
the
yourself and your
G7.
outlet and who the question is for.
Maybe from the
First
US,
question.
Iran, MOU as well.
Graham Wood from Business in Vancouver. Generally, higher property taxes will result in lower land values. So what you guys are doing is you're lowering taxation on property through DCC's elimination, and you're drawing this money from income tax revenue. And so have you considered that aspect?
What we've considered is that and we see this. I'll speak from a federal government perspective. We look across the country. There's certain provinces, BC and Ontario particularly, where development charges have reached a level where they were pricing out ordinary people, I can put it that way, the average home purchaser, and certainly in affordability. And there are advantages, there are synergies in some of the programs that we can have, both at the federal and provincial level, to help provide that infrastructure. Because after all, the development charges for the infrastructure gets capitalized up front, since we're talking about tax, gets capitalized up front, hits and gets passed on through to the buyer of the home, as opposed to what the federal government can do, the provincial government to do, particularly working together, which is to smooth that over time, build world-class infrastructure, community infrastructure, make the homes more affordable, get more people into those homes. And I'll just underscore one last thing, which is that by doing this for 3 years, it's the construction over that period of time where the savings will take place. Remember, we're providing infrastructure funding over 10 years, so the infrastructure gets built. And it's a chance to prove this model at scale, more affordable housing, better communities, and we'll see as we move forward as governments about extending it. But thank you.
Great, thank you. And
follow-up?
Do I got follow-up?
I guess you do, yes. Yeah,
Follow-up?
sorry.
These are two-bedroom homes up here. They're about $1.2 million still. Rents have gone down 6%, but it's completely still out of whack. Do you want to see home prices fall even further, especially in the Metro Vancouver region?
What we want is to establish, and I'll speak from a federal perspective, Metro Vancouver, Lower Mainland, across British Columbia, across Canada, is to build more and make available more affordable housing that works relative to what people's incomes are. And that means supply. It means more supply, obviously. It means part of that supply coming in innovative ways. I'm turning towards Minister Robertson because we're just in the early days. Literally, the legislation has gone through the Senate moments ago of establishing Build Canada Homes, which is a factory-built. It's a way to build much more effectively, more Canadian, lower emissions, lower costs, and build out and providing that strata of more affordable housing across. So that's a supply point. But it's also about removing, as we just talked about, some of those charges so that more people can get into the homes. And I'll just underscore, you heard it, but I know you understand it, is looking out at condos. You're not pointing at that's unoccupied, but condos that have been built, that are unoccupied, that are going to sit there potentially for another couple of years. We're going to go use the right financing mechanisms, convert those into affordable housing so people can move in and use that. Thanks.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Aaron MacArthur, Global News. You're talking about demand side incentives with reducing DCCs. Is there more to say on supply side incentives, such as reducing the GST as we've seen in Ontario?
Well, actually, interesting. I mean, you could have asked that. You could have swapped either of those. You could have said GST for demand side, because GST obviously is a direct lowering of the actual cost. And as you know, sure, the federal government has removed the GST for first-time home buyers to help younger Canadians, younger families get on the housing ladder. Look, I think there's a series of measures. We're very focused as a federal government in terms of overall mechanisms to increase the supply of houses, units within livable communities. So this comes together. I just gave the answer. I apologize. I just met a fly in my eye, but let's see if I can get it out with it. Using our the power of working together to spread out those development charges, that is going to help both supply and demand, because it means that if I'm a developer and I'm looking at an opportunity, the all-in price that I have to pay, I pay the development charge, then I decide how much of that I can pass on, has gone down. And so that helps unblock some of the development there. So the short answer is, it's too late for a short answer, but it is both sides. Both sides of those are connected. I would view the development charge as more of a supply side mechanism than demand side, particularly because, as Minister Boyle underscored and the Premier did, it's combined. If you want to step up and answer more, it's combined with that infrastructure build, which of course is you're building communities, so it's supply side. But Premier.
Thanks, Prime Minister. Just on the difference between our initiative with the federal government and Ontario's, the Prime Minister is absolutely right. The federal government has eliminated GST already for first-time homebuyers here in British Columbia. We've eliminated the property transfer tax for first-time homebuyers on properties in British Columbia, and we don't have PST on those homes. So if you're a first-time homebuyer, you're already getting the Ontario program here in British Columbia. So when we engaged with the federal government, it was like, do we want to extend that tax relief to people who have already bought into the property market who might be buying their second or third home? And the answer was no. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing people who are trying to get into the market. And that has led to the innovative conversations with Minister Robertson and his team, supported by the Prime Minister, about how we can work with the private sector in this underused stock inventory of condos to facilitate more people being able to get into the housing market, and that's what I'm really excited about. It is a very different program than Ontario's, but we're also in a different environment here.
I'll just reinforce that last point, which is housing is not a commodity. There are different structures in different markets, and markets in different places of their evolution, and that's why when in designing, you work with the province, and the province works locally, and that's why you see all the individuals up here, because they're representing that.
As a follow-up, I'd like to hear more about converting empty condos into homes for people. Does that involve the government buying extra stock from developers and then renting those out, or reselling them? Are there details you can give us on that?
You have two things. I mean, there's different models, and we'll work through the modalities and bring it out in the fall, is what I said in French. But you can do both, and my view, experts will design it, but one would look to do both. Effectively, though, what you're doing is buying them at a price, spreading out the financing, because you can do that, the financing of the underlying condo at our financing rate, but targeting at a level that is affordable. So, and it is a way to clear off on the books of this overhang. Yeah.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Rob Buffum. I work at CTV, and my question is for the Prime Minister. It's on behalf of a colleague, and it relates to CUSMA. President Trump, as you'll know, has made a range of comments on how he feels about CUSMA, including yesterday talking about his preference for it terminating immediately. I guess they want to know, you've obviously been in frequent conversation with the president. What are your thoughts as to whether he actually wants to see it extended for 16 years, keep it for 10, or get rid of it right away?
Well,
I'd welcome a prediction on today's game.
Prediction on today's game. Well, okay, let me start with the easy one. First off, I think today's game, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great match because the Qataris they're a good side. We saw it against Switzerland. It wasn't just the late goal, but the way they were organized, and they're tough at the back. Canada's, it's an exciting team. It's an attacking team. Alphonso Davies is going to be back, suited up. He's on the bench. We're recovering from our injury, so we've got a lot of options. We're great at the back. We've got a great keeper. So I think it's going to be great. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable in BC Place. The atmosphere on Granville, the atmosphere around here, atmosphere everywhere is unbelievable. You can feel it in the city. So it's going to be a great game, and I can't remember what the first part of your question was about.
Does Trump want to get rid of it right away?
I know. No, look, I think, as you say, I had a number of conversations with the president in parallel in the last few days at the G7 on a range of issues, including some of the commercial aspects. But there were very detailed, a series of technical conversations. That slightly diminishes them. I just call it that way. But Minister LeBlanc, who's responsible for this, our chief negotiator, Ambassador Greer, who is the U.S. Trade Representative, we continue to work through a number of issues which are all related. And what I'll refer to is, let me take Ambassador Greer's testimony to Congress on a variety of occasions. In effect, the underlying structure of CUSMA has been preserved. It continues to operate for 85% of our exports. Without any action, it will remain in place for the next decade. There's an opportunity to extend it. There's always been the opportunity for any of the parties to cancel it with 6 months' notice. it's no secret the president in recent years has not been the biggest fan of CUSMA or other trade deals, but there are specific things that we can work together on, and including, I'll just put on the table, since we're in British Columbia and we're talking housing, on forest products, which we continue to press with the Americans. Thank you.
My follow-up's for Premier Eby. Premier Eby, there was a poll out yesterday you'll be aware of from Angus Reid that showed your party trailing the Conservatives by 11%, and people are dissatisfied with things ranging from affordability to housing to healthcare. The latest cost estimate for FIFA ranges up to $729 million. How important for you is it that this thing goes off successfully? How much is invested in terms of your government with people catching FIFA fever and probably fueled by a win today from Canada?
Well, the priorities for British Columbians are what we're talking about here today. It's affordable housing. It's affordability generally. It's strong public services, healthcare, transit, and it's jobs and opportunity. It's what we're working with the federal government on all the time. I sure hope Canada wins. But in terms of the election 2 years from now, what are people going to be looking at? It's like, do I see an opportunity for myself to get into the housing market as a young person? Do I see a future for myself in the province? Do I have opportunities for high-paid jobs to deal with affordability issues? Has the government been working where they can to drive down hydro rates, car insurance rates? And what are the proposals of the other party? The key for any poll, especially right now, is that a very large number of people are undecided. They are looking for governments to deliver on their priorities. That's what our government will be focused on for the next 2 years. And then the ultimate poll will take place, which is the election. And the Prime Minister himself will tell you that the certainty of the media and pollsters in the lead up to an election is not necessarily a predictor of the outcome of any election.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Michelle Kassoub, CBC. 2 questions for the Prime Minister from colleagues in Ottawa. Was a foreign entity involved in a criminal for hire network that is behind shootings at Toronto synagogues and the U.S. consulate?
I won't comment on specific investigations underway.
Follow-up.
And you recently said the American and Israeli military action against Iran was worth it. Do you believe that military action was necessary to get the deal that the U.S. and Iran now have?
I think, as I said in recent days, that I welcome the deal that President Trump has negotiated, and I want to particularly today acknowledge the leading role that His Highness the Emir and his Prime Minister Al Thani, played in helping to bring this conflict to an end, or create the possibility with this agreement to an end. And we had extensive discussions about the agreement with the Emir, with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed of the United Arab Emirates, with President al-Sisi, with other players in the region and beyond. And what's important now is to make this work, because what it does is it creates more than a framework, but it creates a foundation to achieve peace. And what's necessary for that peace is a few items that I'm just going to underscore. The first is why this all started, which is ensuring that Iran does not acquire a nuclear weapon. That is at the heart of this agreement. It's all anchored in and around that. There is a exceptionally broad coalition of countries now that are dedicated to that in the region, beyond the region, and Canada fully supports that. We supported that objective from the start. Secondly, that the broader aspects of this conflict, particularly in Lebanon, are addressed. It is part of the agreement. Thirdly, that the financial elements and other elements of the agreement are performance-based, so that they're not, there's no automaticity to them. It's actually progress with respect to the strait and with respect to denuclearization. And fourthly, and this is crucial, and I want to underscore this, you will see it in the joint statement of G7 leaders that came out in the last 24 hours, that we take the broader opportunities that are created by this agreement. Let me be very specific. You saw G7 come together and reinforce the intention for actual, Canada did on the day, but also the intent of further sanctions on Russia to end the senseless slaughter in Ukraine, The resolve there has been redoubled and broadened, including the economic sanctions there, because, in part for some, because of the stabilization in oil markets and others, and also the broader efforts for broader peace in the Middle East, very much including Gaza and the West Bank. Thank you.
Next question. Question.
Kurt Blank, City News. Also a question for the Prime Minister. I'm glad you brought up the G7. Leaders there were quite favorable about the role that Canada could play in providing energy supplies to the global market. Some analysts, though, have been kind of skeptical on whether just one new pipeline to the West Coast, an oil pipeline, would be enough to keep up with demand. Is your government hoping to build more pipelines than the one that's being discussed with Alberta?
So thank you for raising that question, because it was significant. And let me give the quick context and answer your question directly. The first is that you always need to apply the lessons of a crisis, certainly a war, a conflict. One of the lessons of this conflict might have been obvious to some going into it, but it's certainly obvious to everyone now, of the extreme risk created by the concentration and the risks of the Strait of Hormuz. There's a need to diversify energy infrastructure in that region itself. I won't go into all the details, but there was discussions of multiple pipelines and new energy infrastructure in that region, so that the export in future would not be 100% dependent on the Strait of Hormuz, and very serious part. And within that context, the G7 and the broader partnership recognize the very considerable contribution that Canada and British Columbia can and will make to energy diversification. Why do I say that? Yes, there's discussion, as you know, of a coastal pipeline and expansion of TMX, two important contributors, but LNG too, siliciums, wood fiber. I mean, these extraordinary projects that only Canada, and I would say only Canada and British Columbia can do, which are Indigenous partnerships, low carbon LNG trains. So in other words, the actual liquefaction in that process is best in class, top quartile, top decile, in some cases ultimately net zero. And that's supplying energy to Asia. But as we've seen in the last few weeks with the German deals, Uniper beyond the 3 megatons that have been signed for silicium, also to Europe. So there's an acknowledgement of all of that diversification. Last point. There's also acknowledgement, not in that sentence, but in the discussions, that we have an opportunity to double our clean grid in this country. Clean power grid, of course, I'm in British Columbia, where hydro has played such a crucial role, but we have other assets across the country. And in doing so, we can be a clean power supplier, first and foremost for Canadians in an affordable way, but also for manufacturing, for artificial intelligence, if that's appropriate. That's what we want to do. And that is a huge contribution to the world going forward. So yes, we have that opportunity, and I'm pleased that we're working together on the clean power side. Think of the Northwest Conservation Corridor, the NCTL transmission line as one example there. We're working in a way that for conventional energy is lowest carbon as well. So thank you.
And we'll have time for one last question. Dernière question.
Hi there, Thomas Steele from Bloomberg. A question for, I think, Prime Minister and the Premier. You mentioned forestry, and I think at this point there's at least $8 billion sitting in trust, collected in duties. I think it's well over that at this point.
Yeah.
Is Canada's position that all of that should be returned, or is there a haggling going on at this point about the US getting some or all of that to get to a settlement?
Canada's, well, first off, the money is not Canada's. Obviously, the money is the money of the companies that are pursuing rightfully litigation associated. Our core position is that it is in both the interests of the United States and Canada, and not to mention being consistent with our trade agreements, for a return to freer trade in forest products. We're here. We're talking about housing. We're talking about affordability. We're part of the solution for affordability in the United States, as we are here in Canada. There are aspects of a negotiation and flexibilities that exist, but we have to start with a core objective of moving towards that greater access. Let me add one other thing, and I'll let the Premier finish, which is we have worked, and at the Premier's urging, and rightly so, but we've worked very closely on a forest product strategy for transformation of the industry alongside that negotiation. So it's not instead of, but it's alongside. We've most recently had a meeting, I think it was 10 days ago, or maybe it's just a week ago, here to take the next steps on that. We're providing billions of dollars, but we also need to look at how the industry is structured, all elements of the value chain, so that we're getting the most opportunity for our forest products workers, for our industry as a whole. Part of that answer is with Build Canada Homes and others, but it's a much broader elements of that. There is a clear resolve in order to achieve that alongside the negotiations with the Americans. But Premier, I'll give you the last word.
Thanks, Prime Minister. We have been working closely with the federal government on this crucial issue for British Columbians. It's hard to describe to overstate the importance of the forest sector to British Columbia and to Canada's economy. Bigger than steel and auto parts combined nationally, and certainly a major driver in BC, which is why I'm glad to see the Prime Minister and his team giving attention to this key issue. Most recently, a federal technical advisory group to assist us in working together, both to support the sector through this difficult time with the United States, but also to find ways to export more products to jurisdictions other than the United States. Our key point over and over with the ambassador, with the consul general, when we were in the United States, is that there is $8 billion in a bank account that would be a huge benefit to the sector across North America, allowing modernization, allowing value add, creating jobs and opportunity, and to see the Americans increasing their imports of lumber from Russia instead of from British Columbia and Canada doesn't make any sense to us at all. I think there is a win here for everybody on the forest industry across North America, and I am very hopeful that the President and his trade team respond to the engagements of Canada at the national level to sit down and talk about this, because there is a win-win here for everybody, and a deprivation of a source of revenue for a dictator who is currently attacking Ukraine and waging war in Europe. Unacceptable. Let's move forward together.
Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Prime Minister. This puts an end to our... En français.
OK. Oui, très rapidement. Je sais que vous
Dernière
très
question, rapidement.
OK. Ouais, merci beaucoup.
OK.
En fin de session parlementaire, votre gouvernement a fait avancer au moins 9 projets de loi en utilisant des bâillons, des limites de temps sur les débats. Est-ce qu'il y a toujours une place pour le débat démocratique aux communes maintenant que vous êtes majoritaire et suivi là?
Oui, il y a plusieurs débats. Le Parlement, comme le nom, est plein de débats. Il y a des débats, et après un certain temps, il y a des mécanismes de délai afin de frustrer des lois importantes. En parlant, par exemple, des lois qui concernent la sécurité des gens près d'ici, liberté sous caution, les pénuries pour la violence des gangs, les violences avec les armes de feu, la haine, et ils sont tous les projets de loi du gouvernement. Et pour chaque loi, le Parti conservateur dit non. Essayez de frustrer toutes les grandes mesures afin de protéger des citoyens et concitoyens ici, surtout ici. OK? Les lois contre l'extorsion. Et après un certain temps, c'est le temps de voter. Et le Parti libéral votait pour la protection des citoyens et des concitoyens. Et le Parti conservateur votait chaque fois contre. Ça, c'est la ligne finale. Hein.
Merci.
Et merci.
Thank you very much. This was the press conference. This is my final conference.
I think press conference is over. So, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ US ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਡੋਨਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਐਂਡ ਸਾਈਮਲਟੇਨੀਅਸਲੀ US ਦੇ ਵਾਈਸ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੈਂਸ ਅੱਜ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਗਰੀਮੈਂਟ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ MOU ਸਾਈਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਵਿਦ ਇਰਾਨ ਔਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕੁਝ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈਆਂ ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਸੀਨ ਦੋਜ਼ ਪਿਕਚਰਸ ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ US ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਡੋਨਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਔਰ ਇਰਾਨੀਅਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਮਸੂਦ ਪਜ਼ਸ਼ਕੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਈਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਯੂ ਮਸਟ ਹੈਵ ਸੀਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਚਰਚਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਸੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਸਾਈਨਿੰਗ ਸੈਰੇਮਨੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਬਟ ਇਹ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿੰਗਲੀ ਔਰ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿ ਸਾਈਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ ਨੇ ਦਿਖਾਤੇ ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵਾਈਟ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ what White House has posted White House posted this PDF ਆਹ ਵਾਲੀ PDF White House ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੋਸਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਐਂਡ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿੰਗਲੀ ਇਟ ਸੇਜ਼ ਕਿ President Donald J. Trump solved the threat Washington spent 40 years managing. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. That is all. And they are saying the Iran Memorandum of Understanding is a win for America. A win for America. A win for America. Or points here, oil prices plummet. Trump's strength brought Iran to table. Fighting ends on all fronts. Strait of Hormuz open. No US dollar handed to Iran. A safe, more prosperous world. Fifth point, no US dollars handed to Iran. Basically, this is the biggest point. The content or the soul of this, statement of this fifth point is basically mentioned in the sixth point of the official MOU. The 14-point MOU. The sixth point is categorically mentioned that there's going to be, US is going to give them or US is going to facilitate help taking some advice from others or taking help from others and providing $300 billion to Iran. And it's not mentioned whether it's going to be from the America's pocket or whether it's going to be from other Gulf countries' pocket. So ਅੱਜ ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅੱਜ today US Vice President J.D. Vance has explained about this. How this $300 billion will be given to Iran. And who is going to give this amount to Iran? So that is going to be the one thing. The second thing, I think within few more minutes, US President will be speaking to media as well. But before that, let me take you to J.D. Vance press conference.
Tonight, 12.5 million barrels of oil went through the Strait of Hormuz. That is a high since the beginning of the conflict. Oil prices are down nearly at their level from the pre-war conflict. Gas prices dropped below $4 a gallon today for the first time since the conflict. And importantly, they're going to keep falling further given how low oil prices are. On the military side, the Iranians for the second night in a row did not shoot at any ships in the Strait of Hormuz so far. They are honoring their end of the commitment. And on the blockade, CENTCOM has allowed north of a dozen ships to go through our naval blockade. And so we're also honoring our end of the early part of the agreement. On the military side, a couple of things that are still true and will be true whether the Iranians comply with the rest of the deal or not. Number one, their nuclear program has been completely destroyed. Their capacity for enrichment, the facilities at which they were using to develop enrichment and develop a potential nuclear weapon, those facilities are still destroyed. Their conventional military is still destroyed. Their capacity to threaten their neighbors is still largely gone. And now we see whether they are willing to comply with the next step of the president's peace plan. As you all know, the part of the peace plan, the part of this MOU that I think have been most misrepresented by certain parts of the media is the idea that the Iranians get all these benefits. You will hear things about $300 billion or $24 billion or this or that number of money or amount of money. And the simple fact is that the only way the Iranians get any of those resources, not a single penny, by the way, from the United States of America under any circumstances, but the only way that they would ever get any benefit of the bargain is if they comply fully and change their behavior. And so you really have a win-win situation for the United States of America. If the Iranians don't change their behavior, their military and their nuclear program is still destroyed. If they do change their behavior, then they are going to have a transformative relationship with the Middle East, and the Middle East will have a transformative relationship with the people of Iran. That's a win for the American people and for the President of the United States, regardless of which option the Iranians ultimately choose. We obviously want them to choose the right option. The interesting thing about their system, and I think it's important for the American people to appreciate this point in particular, is that there are real divisions within their country about how exactly to proceed. And what we've seen over the last couple of months is that the pragmatists within the Iranian system, the people who really do want to transform their relationship with the Middle East and with the world, those people are winning the argument. The United States wants those people to win the argument. The United States wants to have a better relationship, but in order for that to happen, the Iranians have to perform. And if they don't perform, as we've said before, they don't get any of the benefits of the bargain. So what I'd ask all of you is just to report honestly that the United States isn't giving up a cent of money to Iran, and even the economic benefits, the sanctions relief and so forth that comes along with this bargain only happens if the Iranians perform. So with that, I want to say thanks to all of you. It's good to be with you this morning, and I'll kick it over to questions. Let's start right over here to the right.
Thank you, Vice President. I wanted to ask a follow-up on something you just mentioned. You talked about the possibility of the current Iranian leadership fundamentally changing their behavior. Do you think that the current Iranian leadership recognizes the leverage that the U.S. holds over itself economically and militarily enough to actually go forth with fundamentally changing their behavior over the long term and going about things differently?
So I certainly think they recognize the leverage that the United States has over them. We've seen that in a number of our conversations. We've seen that just in their behavior over the last couple of days. They certainly recognize that the United States has great leverage. Will that ultimately lead to a change in behavior? I don't know. I've seen skeptics of the deal. People say the Iranians will never change their behavior. Well, maybe that's true. And if so, they don't get any of the benefits of the bargain. But isn't it worth trying? Isn't it worth seeing whether this incredibly weakened position that the President of the United States has put the Iranians under, whether that motivates them to change their behavior, not just vis-a-vis the West, but vis-a-vis the Middle East? And one of the interesting things about this is, the technical details of this, we can, of course, get into. There are going to be any number of opinions about the negotiation, about where it's ultimately going to go. But I tend to think that you should trust the people who know the Iranians the best and who have the most to lose. What are the Gulf Arab states saying about this deal? What are they saying about this deal compared to the JCPOA in 2015? This is the Obama nuclear deal. Well, back then, they hated that deal. They felt like it empowered the Iranians to be bad actors across the region. And of course, that's exactly what happened. They were right about that. What are they saying about the president's peace deal? They're saying this is an amazingly transformative thing for the region because either way, we and the broader region win. Iran is weakened, their nuclear program destroyed, their economy in desperate straits. And if they change their behavior, big things are going to happen for Iran and for the world. If they don't, no skin off our backs. Either way, we win. And that's the way the president has set up this deal and this negotiation. Yep.
You answered in your topper, but did the 60-day period officially begin yesterday?
I would say the 60-day period officially started today. It was signed late, and it may have even been signed technically, because of the time shift. I think it's signed technically today, Iran time. So yes, the deal started yesterday. We're going to start the 60-day clock today. Go ahead.
Can you help us understand President Trump's shift on his stance?
I'm going to take you to Vancouver once again.
Missile program. Initially, it was a key objective to dismantle it. Yesterday, he said it would only be fair if they had some, if the countries around Iran also had some. So when and why did that change? And will the final agreement have any restrictions on these missiles?
So we destroyed a substantial number of their ballistic missiles and their ballistic missile launchers themselves. It's not just the bullets, but it's the actual gun. And that's what we were extremely effective at in destroying during the last 3 months of the campaign. All the president said yesterday is that, of course, countries don't give up the right of self-defense. Israel doesn't give up the right of self-defense if Hezbollah fires rockets or drones at Israel. The Iranians don't give up the right of self-defense in their country. But we do expect that as part of the final deal, they are not going to be able to build the kind of missiles that can broadly threaten the entire world. And that's what the President of the United States said yesterday. And look, I mean, it's very simple. You can't tell a country, whether Israel or Iran, they're not allowed to have any self-defense. That's not what the president has asked. That's not what the president has requested. But as part of the final deal, what we want to see is Iran not funding regional instability, funding regional terrorism, and of course, trying to rebuild their nuclear weapons program. That's the main thing. The nuclear weapons program is destroyed. It is gone. If the Iranians decided tomorrow to build a nuclear weapon, they simply don't have the capacity in order to do that. What we're trying to ensure is they don't rebuild that capacity, not just a year from now, 2 years from now, but many, many years from now, so that our children never have to worry about a state sponsor of terrorism having a nuclear weapon.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You were just saying that you're hoping this deal would prevent Iran in the future from getting a nuclear weapon. But from what's been put out there of the MOU, I'm curious, how does the MOU reflect that in the future Iran will not, in fact, get a nuclear weapon? What's stopping them down the road point, rebuilding and restarting from where we were pre the war?
Well, number one, they would have to get a lot of money in order to rebuild their nuclear program. You're talking about billions and billions of nuclear infrastructure that the United States destroyed. In order for them to rebuild that program, they would have to get a lot of money. And we have them in an economic chokehold right now that we're not going to release until they fundamentally change their behavior. What would that look like? That would mean a real inspections regime. That would mean a real enforcement regime. As the MOU contemplates, that would mean the destruction of their enriched stockpile. All of these things are the sorts of steps you're going to take if you're serious about ending your nuclear weapons program. And that, again, is why I go back to this fundamental trade that's built into the deal. They need money to do anything. Their economy is in absolute dire straits. But in order for them to get any integration into the world economy, they're going to have to show us and verify for us that they are changing their behavior. And that's why the deal is set up in the way that it is. Go ahead.
President Trump said yesterday that he was going to blame you if the talks with Iran go sideways. Are you worried that he's going to make you the fall guy?
No, not at all. I mean, I think the president was joking, but as he often does. But no, I think, look, the entire team has worked very well on this, and we've got this thing to a very good place for the American people. Now, I have seen some progressive criticisms of me personally saying, what experience does the Vice President of the United States have with hostile, high-stakes negotiations? And I would point those progressive critics to the fact that just 2 days ago, I spent over an hour on The View. So I actually have great experience in very hostile negotiations. And I've used that. I mean, look, Joy Behar is way tougher than the Iranians, and she and I are best friends now. So we're going to get to a good place here. We're going to get to a good place. We're already at a good place. It's just a question of whether we can really get the icing on the top of fundamentally transforming Iran's relationship with the world. Go ahead.
Of just timing questions. How soon, as the MOU lays out, can Iran start selling any of its oil that has sort of been impounded, right, with the blockade? And two, can you sort of explain the Lebanon component to the MOU and how that front works and the enforceability of it?
Yeah, so the Lebanon component, this is about regional peace, right? This is about regional peace. And what that means is we expect Hezbollah is not going to be firing rockets and firing drones at the Israelis. And we also expect that the Israelis are not going to be going wild in Lebanon, right? Both sides have to honor their end of the deal. Now, as you guys know, sometimes these ceasefires are a little messy. The President of the United States said this a couple of weeks ago, that a ceasefire in that region of the world just means they're shooting a little bit less at each other than they were before. What you've seen is radical progress in Lebanon, less shooting, less firing, but you're still going to have these little flare-ups from time to time. And that's just the sort of thing that we're going to have to manage through the diplomatic process. Secretary Rubio's been sort of the...
Let me just take you to Vancouver. Vancouver ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰੀ-ਵਿਕਟਰੀ ਮਾਰਚ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਉੱਥੇ ਗੇਮ ਹੈ at 3 o'clock ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਔਰ ਕਤਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ FIFA ਦਾ ਮੈਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੋਣਾ, ਔਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਗੇਮ ਹੈ। ਐਂਡ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਮਾਰਕ ਕਾਰਨੀ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਣਾ। ਰਸਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੰਦ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ। What is the current situation right now? Let me just show you some of the visuals which I'm getting right now from different platforms, and I'll try ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਮੈਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਕਾਂ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। Let me just show you the pre-FIFA ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਮਾਰਚ ਜਿਹਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ, ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਹੈ। इस तरीके ਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਉਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਈਆਂ Let me just show you some more pictures. बहुत ज़्यादा इस वेले भीड़ फसी हुई है, भीड़ बनी हुई है और पुलिस बहुत सारी है, फैंस ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੜਕਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਆ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ and I think Prime Minister ਵੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ I think after lunch ਉਹ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੂਵ ਕਰਨਗੇ ਔਰ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਚੈਨਲ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ I am going to share that with you. एक लाइव इंफॉर्मेशन भी आ रही है आई एम गोइंग टू शेयर दैट इंफॉर्मेशन विद यू एज वेल there's a live information as well on this matter आज ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡੇਵਿਡ ਈਬੀ ਨੇ ਵੀ TSN ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੀ ਇੱਕ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਇਸੇ ਸੰਦਰਭ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ TSN ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਅਖਤਿਆਰ ਹੈ ਸਾਰਾ ਮੈਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਾਈਵ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਆਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ Look at this. सब पासे लाल रंग ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਛਾਇਆ ਪਿਆ ਔਰ ਹਰ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੋਂ ਫੈਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਹੈ ਲੈਟ ਮੀ ਜਸਟ ਸ਼ੋ ਯੂ ਸਮ ਮੋਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਚ ਹੋਣਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੀਆਂ ਕੁਝ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਣਾ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਸੜਕਾਂ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਹੈ ਲੈਟ ਮੀ ਜਸਟ ਸ਼ੋ ਯੂ ਪੀਪਲ ਆਰ ਨਾਓ ਕ੍ਰੇਜ਼ੀ इस वेले हालात बने हुए
James,
Let me just show you some more videos ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ. पूरा वैनकूवर इस वेले लाल रंग दे नाल और आप अपनी टीम दे कईयां दे झंडे ਜਿਹੜੇ खड़े होए आ. It's in Vancouver right now, live. Let me check more videos. People are going crazy right now. Let me just show you aerial view. Let me show you aerial view. Let me show you the aerial view. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੋਕ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਏ ਆ. ऑलरेडी इकट्ठे होने शुरू हो गए, भीड़ पूरी बनी हुई है, स्काई ट्रेन जा रही है, कैन सी। Let me show you some more pictures. The aerial view दिए। जिथे मैच होने हैं मैं भी जगह दिखाना दोनों। Let me show you some of the more footage. One sec. That's what is happening in Vancouver right now. Let me show you the aerial view. One sec. Let me just show you the aerial view. Let me just show you the aerial view. One sec. Let me check some more footage. One second. That's the march, Vancouver March, the Canada March. Let me check some more footage. 1 second. Look at that. Wow, that's beautiful. That's magnificent, amazing. Now this march is moving towards the city. I have to check Vancouver Police Department as well. Let me show you some more footage. 1 sec, 1 sec. Vancouver police ने ये information share की थी, this information, which has been shared by the. Let me just. Vancouver police shared this information. Driver will no longer be able to cross Granville Street at Smythe and Nelson, and these intersections have been closed to all vehicle traffic due to crowd sizes and Granville Street pedestrian zone. Driver will be diverted to High and Seymour. Expect delays in the area and choose alternative routes. If you're coming downtown, please consider taking transit. Transit ले जाए. Look at this march. It's not, there's no head count. It's like in kilometers. It's like in kilometers. It's like in kilometers. Let me show you the march. Look at that from the bottom left screen. So that's what was happening in Vancouver. अजय भी चल रहा है 3 बजे मैच है with Qatar. So that is one thing, and let me just check. President Donald Trump the press conference होनी है थोड़ी देर तक, which I think he's going to give some information, or he's going to participate in Medal of Honor ceremony. Medal of Honor ceremony. He's going to take part in that. But with that, I have to take your leave, and thank you so much for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe News Derby. Myself, Sameer Kaushal. Thank you so much.